If you're an artist or maker trying to build a business, you've probably heard the same advice over and over again. You need to grow your audience, post consistently, and keep creating content. Then eventually the right people will find you. But what if you don't have the time to wait? What if your art is ready now, but your Instagram isn't? What if the idea of having to build a following before you can make a sale is what's actually holding you back from making money? It's that mindset that we can't build a business until we've built an audience. But what if that isn't actually true? What if you could build income before you build a following and your audience grew as a result of the business that you already had? That is what we're going to unpack today. This video is not about tips for growing online or tricks for building your following. It's about structure, the behind the scenes strategy that allows you to make money as an artist or maker, even when you don't have a big platform yet. And if you've been posting and waiting and wondering when the sales will catch up, this one's for you. Let me start by telling you a story. So this was early in my shop journey, my second launch, not that long after I'd opened my shop. I was still in the early creator headspace. So I was making stickers, prints, bookmarks, no email list, no strategy. I was just sharing the launch on YouTube and Instagram, filming the process and hoping that a few people would buy. And they did, but there was one order that just made me stop. A name popped up from Sweden. And I thought, wait a minute, they have ordered before, and they had like a month before when I opened my shop. And what stopped me in my tracks wasn't just the repeat order, it was that they paid international shipping twice in such a short amount of time. Shipping to Sweden wasn't cheap, and I wasn't running any discounts or had any abandoned cart email set up. They just came back by choice. And that moment proved that making money didn't come down to volume, it came down to resonance. Someone connected to what I was offering, and they didn't need a flashy feed or a viral post or a big audience to say yes. They just needed a connection, a reason to buy, and a way to do it. And Angie, if you're still watching all these years later, I still remember. Let's talk about what actually needs to be in place before your creative work can start generating real income, especially if your following is still small. So it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that sales start when your audience gets bigger. Like this magic number where everything clicks into place, 1,000 followers, 5,000, 10,000, but that number keeps moving. And I can tell you from experience, sales don't suddenly flood in just because your reach increases. Reach without structure is just like opening the doors to your shop, but forgetting to put anything on the shelves. Making sales consistently and without burnout isn't about being the most talented person in your niche. It's about having offers people actually understand and want to buy. So what does that actually look like? So you need a product someone can understand straight away, not one that needs a big caption or 5-minute video to explain. Then you need a way for that product to be found. That might be through searchable platforms like Etsy, Pinterest, or YouTube, or it might be content-based through posts that act like signposts, guiding someone to exactly what they need. So either way, you're not relying on luck, you're placing your product somewhere that people are already looking. And finally, you need to find a reason to buy now. And that doesn't have to mean fake urgency. It might mean seasonality, a limited quantity, or a simple way you frame the product. Because we all know what it's like to love something, but leave the tab open for weeks. Sometimes the only reason we actually buy is because the thing feels right. And that is something that you can help create. This is the foundation, and it's the part that most people skip because it doesn't feel as urgent as growing your audience or making new products. But a bigger audience won't fix a confusing product listing, and a viral post won't help if the link goes nowhere. So visibility only works if there's something solid underneath it. When you're clear about what you sell, make it easy to buy, and place it where your ideal ideal customer is already looking, you don't need thousands of eyes. You just need a handful of the right ones. This isn't about having it all figured out. It's just about making sure that when someone does find you, even if it's one person, the path to buying is simple, intentional, and ready. Structure doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs to be thought through. And when that's in place, you're no longer just hoping to be discovered. You're building something that knows what to do with the attention when it arrives. Let's talk about something that's really easy to overlook when you're trying to grow a creative business, especially if you're posting regularly, doing all the right things, and still wondering why the effort isn't turning into sales. The default assumption that most of us make is that visibility equals success. If I can just get more views, more likes, more eyes on my work, the sales will follow. But that's not always true. Sales don't come from being seen, they come from content that's built to convert. Content that's structured to do more than just entertain or inspire. It gives someone a reason to take the next step. It bridges that gap between I like this and I want this. And when that structure isn't there, that's when things start to feel like nothing's working. You're posting consistently, staying active, trying to be everywhere, but it's not leading anywhere. At least not in the way that you hoped. You're putting the hours in, you're creating constantly, and it still feels like you're missing something. That something is often intention, not just what you're posting, but how it connects back to your offer or your product, how it helps someone understand what you sell, who it's for, and why it matters to them. Because the goal isn't just reach. At the end of the day, it's revenue. You're running a business, and the content you're already creating has the potential to lead to actual sales, but only if it's built with that in mind. That is exactly what Social to Sale is designed to help you with. If you're posting to Instagram just to get seen, it can feel like a full-time job with very little to show for it. But the goal isn't just to grow a following, it's to make sure that the posts you're already creating can lead to actual sales. And Social to Sale helps you understand the buyer psychology behind what makes someone go from liking your post to actually wanting to buy. So if you're ready to turn your content into something that actually drives sales, you'll find the link in the description below. Not all platforms work the same way, and the sooner you understand the difference, the easier it becomes to make strategic decisions about where you're putting your energy. Some platforms are built for connection and others are built for discovery. Instagram, for example, is brilliant for staying visible to the people who already know you and follow you there. It's where you build trust, where you show your process, share your behind the scenes, and talk to your community in real time. All of that matters, but it's not always where new people find you. And that's because feed-based platforms like Instagram rely on momentum. So your content appears, performs for a day or two, and then disappears into the archive. Unless something goes viral, visibility is short-lived. And I don't want you to burn yourselves out just trying to keep up. Search-based platforms, on the other hand, work completely differently. Etsy, Pinterest, YouTube, even Google, these are spaces where people go looking for something on purpose. They're actually typing in keywords. They're actively seeking answers, inspiration, or a specific solution. And when what you offer matches what someone is already searching for, that's when discovery turns into demand. You're not interrupting someone's scroll, you're meeting a need. It's the difference between posting new in my shop to your existing audience and a total stranger typing printable planner for ADHD creatives into the search bar and then finding your product. Same product, different buyer energy. And that difference is especially important in the early stages of your business, because if you're only relying on feed platforms to get seen, you'll often find yourself stuck in this loop of constantly posting, hoping that today's reel does better than yesterday's, or hoping that someone outside your usual bubble stumbles across your work. And it's exhausting, and most importantly, it's unpredictable. When your business is built with search-based structure in mind, discovery becomes ongoing. Your work has a longer shelf life. someone can find your listing or your video or your blog post weeks or months or even years after you made it. That means your visibility isn't tied to how often you post, it's tied to how findable your content containing your products is. And that is the shift that I want creatives to make. Let me say something that might feel backwards, especially if you've been online for a while. You don't need an audience to make money, but making money can absolutely help you grow an audience. So let me explain. When you start to sell your work, it stops being hypothetical. You're no longer trying to guess what people might want or what you should be offering. You're getting actual feedback. You're learning what people say yes to, what they come back for, and what makes someone click, buy, and repeat. And that clarity doesn't come from waiting for everything to be perfect. It comes from putting your work out there and letting real people interact with it. You're not just posting for attention, you're posting with purpose. You're sharing something that you know has the potential to help someone or connect with someone. I didn't have a huge following when I started, and even now it's not massive, yet I still make daily sales. In my first ever launch that I documented on YouTube, I had about 100 subscribers and I made 14 sales. I didn't wait to launch until I had the audience built. I started with the product, I made things, I opened a shop, and I shared the process. And over time, my audience grew around the business, not the other way around. Now, there's no single right way to do this. There is more than one way to get to Rome. Some people grow first and then monetize, and others sell first and let their audience grow as a result of the offers that they already have. But if you're listening to this and thinking, I've been stuck in this limbo of posting and hoping and waiting for something to click, then maybe it's time to stop waiting for the audience and start building that structure that allows you to sell now. And don't forget to check out Social to Sale to make sure that when you do post to that feed-based platform, you're actually posting content that converts. You'll find it linked in the description. And if you want to know what products to focus on as you start or grow your creative business, then this video walks you through 40 ways that you can make money as a creative. Just click here to watch.